Making a video. Probably shouldn't. But I feel like it. Oh, horrible rain again. So it's going to be a very mucky walk. And my ear is clogged, which is not good. And so I can't hear. Not clogged, it's whatever it is, infected or fucked up in some manner where it ceases to function. So I guess function is a good word for this video. Holiday has reasserted his point, and in the same, he does keep changing the goalpost in terms of this identifying value, and so now he's back to doing the to them thing, essentially, that somehow it's intrinsic to them. Because that's the intended biological function, is personal. And clearly, it's a personal motivation device, sentience. That's what it is. It motivates DNA molecules in a competition to win the grand prize of DNA success. Yeah, well, there's nothing in that structure that at all creates any logical continuity problems between recognizing same as same. So we're back to the same as same argument, that it really doesn't make a difference who's doing the paying for your profit. The payment is the thing that's significant. The fact that it happens in the universe. And that's what intrinsic means. You can't have intrinsic to them personally, so that's even a, it's not a straw man, but it's a scapegoat, I don't know, escape hatch. So he begins this video in the typical manner. I'm not requiring you to provide, a blueprint of the mechanics of consciousness, except I am, because I'm going to say it doesn't mean anything until you prove it. And again, my counter argument is I don't need any proof, just like I don't need proof that the mechanisms within the sun produce photons. The sun produces photons. That's what it does. Okay, and I know it. And all the reductionism in the world isn't going to change the fact that we can know that one. That's what it does. And all the reductionizing of our consciousness in the world isn't going to change the fact that it creates this value experience, a valuable experience. So I guess I'll just go back to that explanation a little, opine a little bit on the nature of what biology did and why it did it. Okay, why sentience was fallen upon as a mechanism. And this Holiday will concede, or agree with, or he also believes that evolution has a reason. There's a logic to the method to the madness, so to speak. What the fuck is that? I don't know. Some slugs were doing something there, I guess, or frogs, or there are a zillion little frogs. I don't know what they are, but man, some kind of tree frog, but zillions upon zillions. Ugh, a slug on my tree. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, my tree. See, it's my tree now, because I have find utility in it. But anyway, that's a side subject. Damn. I knew I should watch for that. Well, I didn't know it. I did know it, but I just didn't cognize it at this very moment. Oh, well, it gives me a chance to fix this anyway. This damn tarp is too heavy. Yes, of course, I put the tarp out to clean it last night, and I didn't think it was going to rain buckets and buckets of rain. My tarp is all wet. It's a canvas tarp, you see. So anyway, there are rules to how the fact game works. So evolution is this process of reward, in a sense, and punishment for modifications. Organisms will be rewarded with reproductive success, which isn't necessarily, in my opinion, much of a reward. But anyway, let's call it a reward for, through whatever method, acquiring an alteration in their construction conducive to survival and replication more precisely, more directly. And again, the art of replication is an art, so to speak. There's a certain complexity to being successfully replicated in certain environments. In certain environments, the tools are really simple. In other environments, you have to have very nuanced tools because you can't create too many of you or you decimate your food source. So there has to be balances, and your reproductive rate has to be balanced, your success rate, to the environment. There has to be a regulator, and if there isn't a regulator, your kind probably won't survive very long, because there will be periods where that regulation is acutely important, and such. So yeah, we have a consciousness because it creates the method of reward and punishment. It creates the syndrome. It creates the sense of the whip and the carrot, a sense of value. And so nature synthesized value to make us as organisms pursue reproduction and food and physical health, protection of the body. So it gave us a mechanism, sensation, feelings, to oblige us to be obedient to the replicating thing, to do what's required, to make it valuable to us. Because intellectually, it couldn't be valuable. Logically, it couldn't be just valuable on its own. We would have to have an incentive. And of course it made those incentives personal, because that's all it can build is personal machines. And sometimes it builds some social dynamics. You know, it gets a little less personal and gets nepotistic or familistic, nationalistic, gangistic, tribistic. We have that built into our psychology clearly also. We tend to become affiliated with mobs, and mobs that tend to be like us. So I see some Nietzsche documentary, and they made some line about that where Nietzsche lamented, you know, not having a cult. I mean, he didn't use those words, but same thing, you know, and how lonely, you know, his life as the superhuman was going to be, because all these meager humans, you know, weren't up to his level. And, you know, he really wanted an audience. I guess that was that whole Zarathustra thing, was really just a metaphor for his own pilgrimage, his own struggle to find somebody willing to listen, and willing to be improved, you know, by what he was saying. Quote unquote. Ironically, his last sane moment, you know, for the guy who mocked and scorned at those who showed compassion, were dissuaded or compelled by a perception of harm in the world, was apparently hugging a lame horse. Yeah, off to the booby hatch. So, who knows what Nietzsche's really last word on the subject would have been. Strange story, really. I didn't think somebody could live with 30 years with syphilis, but who knows. I don't know what his ailments were, but, you know. Well, anyway, I mean, ironically also, is, you know, apparently he got, a woman disappointed him, and, you know, fractured him thoroughly. And so I'm not too sure at that moment he would have been saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger stuff. There's every indication he was not made stronger through the experience. So anyway, I don't want to get on Nietzsche. Well, I do, because I think he's just such a, he is a cult figure in the sense that he's just being turned into another messiah. The glory, the magnificent Nietzsche, like he's some sort of heroic mountain climber, and he only was that in his own mental delusions. No reality to any of it. Never, his own philosophy never lived. So, but back to the story, the Hafladay saga of, you know, we get him to use words like intrinsic and bad, and now he's still just going to break those words and say the bad somehow is limited. It only has badness inside the individual, and bad isn't bad anymore once you get 10 feet away from a person. Ah, bad is over. I have to be inside them for bad to be real. But once I'm outside of them, no bad here. Again, the argument could be made is I can create an organism. I can take a human being and theoretically strip it of a personal identity, you know, knowledge of self, and, you know, certain life experiences, let's say, an education, and then put it in pain, and somehow it's not in pain. Somehow the pain isn't real now because it doesn't say I'm in pain. It doesn't cognize it as a I'm in a bad way. Of course it still is. And of course if I could mitigate or comfort it like a lame horse on the road, if hugging it will make it okay, will make the horse feel better, I'm doing it. I'm there. I'll help out. This is the logical thing to do. This pain is bad, no matter where it is. Suffering is bad, no matter where it is. God damn, I'm getting bitten by shit now. Yeah, there's just so many, I mean, it's just so many thoughts that come to mind as you live through your life, and you know, obviously, I'm conveying some of those. You know, and just the weird edge you do walk, you know, where in some respects this is a perfectly lovely day, and it's just a couple of little irritations, you know, that just throw it all off. And I guess I wanted to kind of metaphor the syndrome of consciousness. Damn, these horseflies, the little fuckers. That one is going to leave a mark. He'll probably come back to life. They are zombies. Goddamn horseflies are the most zombie insect ever made. You know, you really do have to cut their head off or something to kill one. A few crushing injuries just won't slow them down much. So the metaphor, Hafladay's argument of this reductionism where he believes once it's all the way reduced, I think he really thinks it turns to nothing. It's like it never happened. Suffering is a lie. Our brain tells us. And doesn't, I'm saying, yes, of course it's a lie. It's a synthesis. It's a fake value. But in this world, a fake is as good as a real thing. There's no rules of, there's no in testing. And the fact that you're not testing, yeah, any fake will do. If it mimics all the necessary components. And it's mimic all the necessary components. I'm experiencing it. I know from experience. It's one hell of a mimic. Value. It's one hell of a non-reality. It's pretty fucking real. No doubt about it, from my perspective, that you're not going to unravel that with knowledge. Knowledge will not make you see suffering as a non-event. That's my prediction. So anyway, I mean, I don't know if that's a debatable subject. I mean, he'll have his opinion, I'll have mine. I guess we're just stuck with him. I just can't see any way you can undo it. So I metaphor to like a violin. It's just wood, it's just strings. I pile a bunch of wooden strings on the floor and I pluck, say you pluck a certain amount, you're not going to get a beautiful sound. And it's only when you appropriately arrange the wood and the strings that you get the resonant frequencies engaged and you maximize the focus. Oh, shit. That was not good for my back. The focus of the energy. So it's like a magnifier. And I would argue that that's what consciousness is doing. It's creating a lens of kind, a filter. And it's magnifying, it's optimizing a vibration, a syndrome. It's like oscillating wheels. If you do mechanical stuff, sometimes you know that something can look like it's spinning perfectly round, but it's not. And if you hit at certain speeds of a spinning wheel that's a little bit eccentric, all of a sudden the thing will wobble to pieces, because all the resonant vibrations will be keyed at certain frequencies, and they'll magnify the effect because they won't cancel each other out. They'll be all constructive interference, so to speak, and they'll magnify the effect of the defect, and the whole thing will fall apart. So, you know, one speed you can run it for 10,000 years, another speed you can run it for 10 minutes. You know, and that's what consciousness is, in my opinion, likely. It's some thing where biology has filtered out of the neurological mess the knee jerks, the cascade of knee jerks that is our brain. Somehow it's filtered out of that, this illusion of an identity and a poker. You know, and it's just pulling it out and pushing it in. Pushing in bad, pulling out good. Like a governor. And that's the reality we are soaked with. So much to do. Anyway, my work is never done. Oh, grass that came out nice. Except it's glaringly patchy, but what are you gonna do? Gotta put some weeds in it, I guess. Make it match the rest of the lawn. Anyway. Funny. They're not daisies, but they're, I don't know, they look like daisies, except little ones. Yeah, call them faux daisy, right? It's just the same. They're still flowers. So, okay, maybe they're not real daisies, but close enough. Might as well be. And that's what this value engine of a brain is. Might as well be a reality because it's doing everything real things do. It is creating experience. It's creating a detectable phenomenon. We're detecting it. We are the detector. In the sense that we're not detecting anything real, doesn't matter. We're the instrument doing it. And you know, it's just so complex. There's so many ways to metaphor it, but in a way they do resolve the issue. They resolve this dilemma that somehow we have to concede because it doesn't have what we can see as a appropriate moving part that it still has function. It's kind of even just thinking about the heart as a muscle, as a machine. And yeah, these biological instruments are just so efficient, you know, because they've had millions, billions of years of evolution to perfect them. And you know, our heart's amazing, you know, what it produces with a little glucose and some electricity, and the whole way the electricity travels across the mechanism, you know, and it's just, you know, the physics of it, the creation of ions, and then the reneutralizing of the ions, and it's just, you know, it's incredibly delicate physics for something so durable, something so reliable. And it's just been tested over time. And the mechanism of this whip and carrot has been well tested over time. So we sort of have a concession from Hofladay that the whip and the carrot exist, and now all he's saying is, logically, I have no obligation to recognize it's bad when somebody's being whipped. And that's what I would say, just too easy to defeat as an argument. Because we experience it. There's no way you could not know it's bad because you experience the badness. There is no reason or logic to believe there's somehow a difference, or that somehow matters, that it's not bad when it happens to somebody else. There's nothing. I can't find anything. I can't find any logical reason to negate badness as a concept and say the badness of what I feel extends nowhere. It has no reality in the universe. That the universe, if it had some mission, it could torture me without consequence because it's only happening to me. Well, the universe couldn't do it. Another human being couldn't do it. That wouldn't make any sense. And certainly another human being couldn't do it. And that's where we get to the subject of ethics. You know, as soon as you acknowledge that that's really what we're doing, we're trading who gets the bad end of the stick. Yeah, can't find the magic compartment containing the magical happy stick. So it's really brightening up a little, but more rain coming. Can't really explain how much rain there's been. It's an unexplainable amount of rain. I mean, when it rains, it's not like it does a quarter inch, you know, it just keeps piling up, a half inch here, another inch there, another half inch, another inch. It's just a tremendous amount of rain in the last 10 days, 15 days. So everything's just, you know, muddy. Yeah, I don't like it. I prefer not muddy. So the swans are gone, so I guess they weren't imported. I thought they might have been. In the town used to, you know, they had a couple of their own swans and they would clip their wings. And so they were here for years and years. But no such luck this time. You can see how shallow the water's getting. Look at the stick got stuck there. It's just sitting there in like a foot of water. So it's really gotten full of mud because they don't do what I told them to do. See that bridge there? They spent $70,000 for that bridge. And, you know, I proposed that they put a dam up there, you know, a little one. And, you know, and then they could just dredge the other side. They could just keep pulling the mud out of the other side. And it would be so much, you know, they could just keep doing that a little bit at a time. They wouldn't have to get environmental permits and all this kind of shit. They could just scoop out some crud every now and then. And the settlement would all collect back there instead of in here. But anyway, I think it would work. That's a different subject entirely, isn't it? Yeah. Alright, so back to the... I don't see how, like again, it's back to the chess argument. It's a game we're playing collectively. Existing in the universe is not something, it's not a personal game. It's a everybody's playing game. And you just can't separate the welfare of the other players with your status in the game. You know, the team matters. You know, and it's like war. You don't win the war because you survive. You know, it's a collective effort. And you don't win efficiency of sentient manifestation by playing your individual game. It's bigger than that. The truth of consciousness, the truth of badness is bigger than your brain. I don't know why that isn't intrinsically logical to you. You know, that it's quite obvious that that's how it's played. Consciousness is the manifestation, not your consciousness. Feelings are the consequence of consciousness. And it's a consequence for all the feeling things. It's always the consequence. I mean, there's just no part of this that you can personalize besides the fact that, yes, we're individual pawns. But it doesn't change the fact that if a pawn is going to be tortured, it's a bad thing. No matter which one gets the torture. I mean, I've been over that so many times. There really isn't, oh, I'll go the other way. There really isn't an excuse to have to re-go over it. I mean, beyond the fact that he's apparently unpersuaded by what I see as uncontrovertible truth. That you can't personalize something that's not just happening to you. And it's not just happening to you. Interesting. You know, these little trees, you know, there's one kind of pine there, and a little cedar tree there. Huh. None to be found anywhere here. So it must have been from people's rubbish. But anyway, they fenced in this tree. This, whatever it is. I don't know what this is. What is this? Crab apple, I think. I don't think that's worth it. Well, it doesn't look like it. It's look like they're really eating it. They reach up to grab it all, so it really is doomed eventually. Funny that they haven't even. Well, I guess they probably did figure out how to jump the fence, but that doesn't make them taller, so it's not going to do them that good. Because yeah, that's 6 feet. They can jump that, no trouble. Alright. So where was I? Finishing up. Yeah, so I guess we're back to the us, them thing, the me, them thing, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's all players in the game. You don't undo somebody's existence that easily, just by saying it's a them. That just doesn't do it. You have to have more. If you're going to say somebody doesn't exist, you're going to have to say more than I say they don't exist. I say they're not doing exactly what I'm doing in fundamental character. Oh, there's so few good choices here. Fuck it. I'll take that choice. Yeah. And then I'll take this choice. Ugh. Well, this didn't fall down, so I guess that was a win. Oh, that rock moved, which is not helpful. Well, fuck it. Go ahead, move. See if I care. Alright, made it. So anyway, I haven't watched the rest of the end of the video. I'm sure it climaxes with some kind of horrible crap. But yeah, these videos are so hard for me to watch. I have to keep turning them off. It's like, oh, I can't take any more of this nonsense. It's really worse than theism. From my perspective. To me, it's logically more nonsensical to claim non-existence of something so existent and so powerfully existent. At least the theological nuts don't do that. They create fairy tales. They create extra cartoon characters. But they don't break the basic plot, which is that we're vulnerable. We're sensitive things in the world. And what happens to us matters. There's good outcomes and bad outcomes. No doubt about it. And to deny that, just too stupid. So anyway, off to the gulag. Yeah, it feels like it today. I don't want to do this. Till next time.